Okay, you may be seated. Okay, let the record reflect that the defendant is present along with counsel for the defendant. Assistant State Attorneys, both sides ready to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's return the witness to the stand, Ms. Anthony, and then we will return the jury. All right, let's return the jury. State recognized presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does the defense? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Did you heed all of my previous admonitions while you were gone? Yes. Okay. Apologize for the late start, but we had some technical difficulties with the sound system. All right, Ms. Burdick, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mrs. Anthony.
Good morning.
When we left off on Saturday, we were talking about July 3rd of 2008. Do you recall?
Yes, ma'am.
In the evening hours on that date, you posted a paragraph on MySpace, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to your daughter Casey about what you had posted on MySpace?
Yes, I did.
Right. Was it that same day, or was it a period of time after that?
It was either the next day. I believe it was the following day. I know I didn't speak with her since I spoke with her like at 3 o'clock that afternoon on the phone. I hadn't spoken with her.
Did you talk with her about the issues and feelings that you expressed in the posting?
Yes, I did.
All right. Did you express to her your feeling that Kaylee was missing and you didn't know why?
That was a figure of speech. She was missing in my heart. And, Casey and I spoke about, why I wrote what I did.
Okay. Now, you did not know at that point on July 3rd that Kaylee was not with Casey, correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did you speak with Casey about your feeling that she had betrayed you?
Yes, I did.
And what was her response to your discussion about Casey betraying you?
She explained to me that she needed some time away and that she was not upset with me and she was not punishing me by not letting me speak with Kaylee. She felt that she needed some time to sort some things out, and she explained to me that seeing Jeff again rekindled a lot of her feelings and emotions, and she explained to me that someday, I'm going to have to go through that empty nest syndrome with her and Kaylee. And so she explained to me, that how much she loved me and that, that she wasn't trying to get me upset. It was just she wanted to work things out in her mind, and that I needed to get used to the fact that someday she was going to be moving out and be her own person. And I realized that I was being selfish at that point, and so I quit questioning her.
All right. Now, what she told you was that she was pursuing a relationship with what you thought was a wealthy man who lived out of town.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that point, once she tells this to you, you decide to stop questioning her about her whereabouts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The issues and feelings that you posted and then discussed with her predated June 16th, 2008, correct?
The feelings that I spoke about was everything up until July 3rd, just the feelings. I felt betrayed that day because I found out she had lied to me.
Okay. But you also discussed with her your feelings that she was jealous of you.
That was my interpretation.
Leading.
I asked for the
Overruled.
That was,
Did you discuss with her your feelings?
Leading as to outside of the scope of what was previously agreed upon on leading.
Okay. Overruled.
Did you discuss with her your feelings that she was jealous of you in some fashion?
it was brought up to me by her ex-fiance, Jesse Grund, when they were dating or engaged.
Sustained.
Did you discuss that with Casey?
Yes, I
That
did.
you had these feelings that you thought she was jealous of you?
Yes,
Okay. Did she deny that?
yes,
Did you discuss with her that she had left without warning?
yes.
Okay. Did she tell you that that wasn't true? That there was some warning?
Well, no, she said she left without telling me. I mean, that was the whole purpose of me being upset with her on the phone at 3:00 that afternoon.
Did you discuss with her your issue or feeling that she left without warning even though you had been the one to raise, feed, clothe, shelter, and pay the bills for Kaylee?
Leading
Overruled.
way outside the scope of what was agreed upon.
Overruled.
Did you discuss that issue with her?
Yes, I did.
And?
And again, that was, I think I was making, my whole purpose of writing the letter was I didn't want to go into it on the phone with her. So I thought writing my feelings down, maybe it would make an impact on her, how she made me feel those last few days, finding out that she had lied to me, that she was
Okay.
not in Orlando.
Did you discuss with her your feeling that you had heard she felt you were controlling her life?
I don't remember speaking about me controlling her life, no.
Okay. So after you talked, or during the time that you talked to your daughter about the feelings that you expressed, did the conversation conclude with her telling you she does need her space?
Yes.
So after having that discussion on July 3rd, well, a few days after July 3rd, you said, did you back off?
I backed off, but I still persisted on, I learned how to text during that time. So I started texting her just to make sure that everything was okay. And I'd leave messages and then she'd call me back. I just wanted to, talk to her at least every day to make sure she was okay. And I did persist every day asking if I could speak with Kaylee because I miss hearing her little voice.
All right. And were you given an opportunity to speak with Kaylee at all?
No.
Were you told at that point where Kaylee was?
Yes.
What were you told?
I was told at various times that either Kaylee was napping or with Jeff's mother and Zachary, maybe at the beach in Jacksonville, on a boat, just various places.
Based on your conversations then with your daughter, did you have some expectation as to when she was going to return from Jacksonville?
Yes, at one point, I kind of thought she was going to come home during that weekend after the 4th of July. And then I believe that's when she told me that there was something wrong with the Pontiac, that, her boyfriend Jeff was going to, take it to his mechanic and have him look at it. She thought that the gas gauge was broken or something on it.
Okay, her car.
Her car.
All right. So did that necessitate her staying out of town based on what you were told?
Yes.
Okay, for how long?
I believe it turned into like Monday or Tuesday because they had to order a part of some sort. Plus, we knew that Casey needed to get her brakes done. We had been mentioning it to her that it was about time that she, get those checked and redone. So, I don't really know a lot about cars, and I was the one that spoke to Casey every day, so I just assumed that that was correct.
Did you share with your husband, George, that you were speaking to Casey on a regular basis?
Oh, absolutely. He inquired every day if I had spoken to her or not, and I'm the one that told George to leave her be, just to let her go,
All right. So after being told that the car was going to need some repair, did you have some other expectation as to when she was going to be coming back to Orlando?
Yes. Again, that following weekend, the weekend after July 4th, we had expected her to come home. And then I remember on that Sunday receiving a text. George and I were in Walmart just getting some things, and I received a text from her saying that Jules was getting married. And Jules is Jeff's mother. And so they were going to stay for the wedding. It was an impromptu thing, and it was going to be at the chaplain, with the chaplain. I guess Jules had had cancer, and they were going to get married at the hospital chapel, and then she would be home either Monday or Tuesday.
All right. Now, at this point, we're talking about Monday, July 14th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you see her then on Monday, July 14th?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Do you know where she was?
She told me she was in Jacksonville and that she and Jeff were getting the car packed and ready to go. Jeff was going to come back down to Orlando, and they were going to caravan back. So they were, loading her car and Jeff's car, and then they were going to try to leave at some point and be home on Tuesday.
Tuesday, July 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on Sunday, the 13th, were you and your husband working in the yard?
Yes, later that day when we got back from doing errands and such, George and I were out front working in the yard. We had planted new sod in the strip between the sidewalk and the street. We had planted new sod there, and George was watering that. We're considering putting plants and stuff in that area, and then nixed the idea, thinking that if someone, trampled it or backed into it or whatever with a car. So I was out weeding in the front, and George was off to the side, and I noticed that there was a notice taped to the front glass door, and it was kind of hard to see because our door is it's not really a peach, but it's a light pink color.
Overall.
You were talking about the difficulty of being able to see the notice that was on the door.
Yes, ma'am.
Why was it difficult?
Well, in the afternoon, we get the afternoon sun in the front of the house, and there's a glare usually off the glass. And I usually have a wreath or something on the front door, or a plaque or something. And the notice kind of blended in with the door, but the reflection, as I worked closer, I could see it. And I went ahead and took it off at that point.
Right. Do you have any indication, or did you have any indication at that time how long that notice had even been there?
I believe it was put there either Thursday or Friday.
Why do you believe that?
Because usually they're marked, and I believe I saw either the 10th or the 11th date on when it was posted on there.
When you come in and out of your house, what do you use?
The garage door.
Other than some date indicators on the notice, did it give you any idea what it was about or who it was from?
It said it was a certified letter, and it had Johnson's. And when I read it, I didn't know anybody the name of Johnson or Johnson's company, so I went over to George and showed him the notice, and he said he had no clue who Johnson's was. So, he said, well, I'll just pick it up, tomorrow, which would have been Monday, on my way to work.
All right. Did your husband start a new job a job with a new employer on Monday, July 14th?
Yes, he had done some orientation with them and had just started with this new job.
Since you were expecting Casey and Jeff on July 15th, did you think that she was coming right to your home at some particular time of day?
Well, I figured at some point she'd be home. Jacksonville's not that long of a drive to Orlando, so I figured by noon, if they left in the morning, that they would be home sometime in the afternoon.
Did you go to work that day?
Yes, I did.
Do you know if your husband was scheduled to work that day, July 15th?
Yes, he was.
What shift?
3 to 11.
At some point, did you learn that your husband had gone to the post office to pick up the certified letter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know when that occurred?
Around lunchtime sometime,
On,
the 15th of July.
okay. Did he call you at your office to tell you what the letter was about?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
All right. Did he tell you that the car, Casey's car, was in Orlando
Yes, ma'am, he did.
at a tow yard?
Yes.
After receiving that information, did you attempt to contact your daughter?
Yes, I did.
Did you get a hold of her?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you about the car being in Orlando?
I told her that she had a lot of explaining to do, that her car, from what I had found out at that point, the car had been towed from a facility. I wasn't sure at that point what facility, and had been there for a couple weeks. So I said she had a lot of explaining to do.
Did
And-
she explain?
No.
Did you tell her that you were going to call her back or that she needs to come home immediately?
Yes, I pretty much in essence said that she needed to, to be home so that we could talk this out.
So what did you do next?
Well, when George got the certified letter, he went directly down to the Johnson's tow yard, and they handed him a receipt and said that it was like $488 and some change. And he said since both of our names was on the title, that we both had to go down there. So I went ahead and stopped and got $500 out of the ATM and met George at the house so that, one of us could drive her car home.
So you left work about what time?
I didn't look at the clock. I just left after he went down to the, within minutes of him going to the post office, he was at the tow yard because it's, not that far away. So I would say maybe if I had to guess, sometime maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock.
All right. So you met your husband at the house and the two of you went in one car
Yes, ma'am.
to the tow yard. Right. Did you get any access to the car while you were at the tow yard?
I did not. I was close to the car when George came around after he, was able to drive it. He came back around, and I was waiting for him because it was raining, and I had my window down. And he said, "We need to get home right now. This car stinks, and it's raining, and let's, I'm going." He, in other words, he just said, "Let's not chit chat. Let's get home."
All right. Were you able to detect an odor at that point?
No, I was not.
So where did you go from there?
We drove back to our home, and George drove the car right into the garage and parked on the right-hand side of the garage, my normal spot. Pulled the car right into the garage, and then I left my car out.
All right. Now you indicated it was raining.
Yes, it wasn't raining very hard. It was kind of like a misty rain.
Once the car is in the garage, do you access it in some fashion?
Yes, as soon as I got out of the car, my car, George was already out of the car, and I could, as I walked up to the car, I could smell the car. And
What did you say?
I said, oh my gosh, what, you know,
I asked her what she said.
Overruled.
I said, oh my gosh, you know, what's wrong with the car? And George proceeded to tell me that excuse me,
Tell
okay,
us what
got you,
Mr. Anthony said.
got you.
All right. Did you make some comment at that point about the smell?
Yeah, I said it smelled like something had died in the car.
Did you learn about any garbage being in the trunk at some point?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So what did you do, if anything, to the car?
It was after George went to work. I encouraged him to go because it was getting close to between 2 and 2:30, and we had opened all the trunk, the hood of the car. George took the battery out of the car because we were afraid that Casey might come home and take the car, and we wouldn't be able to speak with her. So I went ahead and noted that Casey's purse was on the front seat, and that Kaylee's baby doll, her favorite doll was in the car seat, like it was sitting where Kaylee would have sat. And I noticed Kaylee's backpack in the trunk of the car. And I noticed some clothes and some shoes of Casey's. So what I did is I took Kaylee's doll out of the car, and I took the backpack out of the car, and I took Casey's purse out of the car and a pair of slacks. I left the shoes, and I think there was a blue plastic collapsible basket that we kept in the back of her vehicle, like for groceries or just odds and ends. We keep them in all of our vehicles. And I think there was a belt and some odds and ends in there. I left the stuff that was in the trunk except for Kaylee's backpack. I took that out. And Kaylee's doll smelled like the car, so I took it out. And in our garage we have a ice chest, and I set the doll down, and I went and got a Clorox wipe and wiped the face and the hands. And the body is soft, so it smelled pretty bad. So I went and got some Febreze, and I sprayed the doll. And I sprayed Febreze all through the car, thinking that that might help the odor. I sprayed the front and the back. I used pretty much a whole can of Febreze.
All
And
right.
then
Now, let me just stop you there. At that time, you indicated that you said to your husband what died.
yes,
Okay. The smell in the car, was that a smell that you recognized?
the smell in the car was like something I had never, it was pretty strong. I mean, I use that expression, you know, what died, you know, and at that point I never put, you know, anybody in the trunk of the car or in the car. I was satisfied with what George had told me happened at the
Tow yard.
tow yard.
All right. Now, you have a nursing background, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had the experience of being exposed to either rotting or decomposing flesh?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
What is your experience in that area?
I debried a lot of very bad wounds and work with a lot of patients who have amputees, and a lot of times their tissue starts to rot. And I remember one experience as a student nurse that we did get to go to the morgue and see some bodies that had come in that had been out there for a while.
All right. Now, you said that you used the expression, "what died," with your husband. At that point, were you considering that something died in the car?
No, at that point I did not.
You said that you encouraged George, your husband, to go to work. Did you see whether or not he took any action as it relates to the car?
No, no, ma'am. I was pretty much in the garage the whole time that George was home. He went inside to get his things and then he left.
All right. If I may have states D for identification. Oh, this is not even working, so I don't know if I,
Are you seeing?
there's nothing on.
You're not supposed to be seeing it.
It says unpublished.
Says unpublished to the hearing.
Is it there now?
So we stipulate to the photo, if that makes it easier.
Yeah.
The photo marked D for identification, what do you recognize that to be?
The Pontiac Sunfire that Casey was using.
All right.
It's the back end view.
All right. At this point, Your Honor, we would introduce D for identification into evidence and seek permission to appropriately publish.
Okay. The defense is previously stipulated to this. It will be introduced as states numbered. You may publish.
If I may show you what's been marked as E for identification.
Huh? Is it coming up again? Okay. Let's take a brief recess, please. Okay, you may continue.
Thank you. Mrs. Anthony, we're going to look at what has been introduced as 47 in evidence. And I've been told to give it a second. All right. What is it that is being shown in 47 in evidence?
The back of the Pontiac Sunfire.
I'll unpublish that one and ask for E for identification. And I'm showing you what has been marked as E for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's the front view of the Pontiac Sunfire.
Does that photograph fairly and accurately represent the way that the Sunfire looked back in July of 2008?
Yes, except for the writing on the windshield and the yellow tape on the
All right.
hood.
The car itself.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce E for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
No objection, sir.
It will be received in evidence as states numbered.
Permission to publish.
You may publish.
Okay. You testified this is the front of the vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We'll unpublish that, and if I could have F for identification. Do you recognize what's shown in that photograph? I'm sorry.
It's the driver's side view of the Pontiac Sunfire.
All right. Does it fairly and accurately depict the vehicle in July of 2008?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce F for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
No objections, Judge.
Be received in evidence as states numbered.
And permission to publish to the
You
jury.
may publish.
If I could have H for identification. Ma'am, do you see H for identification?
Yes, that's looking in the front interior of the car, the Pontiac Sunfire, through the passenger side.
All right. You had mentioned when you first had access to the vehicle that there were some items in the front. Do you see those items on the seat, or were items removed?
There was another item that was in the passenger seat that I removed. That was Casey's work purse.
Aside from that item, were the items that are shown in the photograph on the front seat whenever you first had access to the car?
Yes, the purse was covering those items, and I saw those after I removed the purse.
All right. Does that photograph then fairly and accurately depict the condition of the front seat with the exception of the work purse that you mentioned?
I think there was I think I could see one of my steak knives.
Hold on. Aside from the things that I mentioned, the work purse, is that what was there?
Yes.
Okay. Is the photograph fair and accurate depiction of the interior of the car?
Missing one other item. that I-
Okay. Is the photograph a fair and accurate depiction of what we had discussed was remaining in the car?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce H for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
We have no objections. However, we think a sidebar is required.
If you have no objections, why is there a necessity for a sidebar?
In reference to some testimony.
Okay. It will be admitted in the evidence approach. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're hereby instructed to disregard the testimony regarding one of my steak knives that was mentioned by Miss Anthony concerning the photograph. You may continue.
Your Honor, is F for identification, I'm sorry, I believe that's H for identification introduced into evidence?
Yes, it is, Madam Clerk.
And permission to publish that to the jury. All right. Mrs. Anthony, I'm going to show you what's already been introduced into evidence as states 35. And permission to publish during the testimony since it's already been introduced. All right. Mrs. Anthony, do you see the items?
Yes, ma'am.
Were those items in the vehicle when you first accessed it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you had mentioned that there were some other items in, which part of the vehicle is this?
The back seat of the Sunfire, looking from the passenger side.
All right. You had mentioned that there were some other items in the back seat. What was that?
On the back seat, covering the shoes, was a pair of Casey's dress slacks. And in the seat well on the passenger side behind the driver, or the side, the back seat behind the driver, there was a pair of Casey's boots, dress boots.
All right, so you removed the boots and you removed the slacks?
I did not remove the boots.
Oh, you did not remove those. You removed the slacks.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do with those?
They also had the same odor that of the car So I went ahead and put them in the laundry.
Okay. Your laundry is right there in the garage?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as L for identification. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Is that photograph a fair and accurate depiction of a portion of the vehicle as you found it on July 15th of 2008?
And that picture's taken after, because the boots were in the well and the dryer sheet was not there. I placed that there.
Okay. Aside from the changes that you've made, accurately show the back seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mrs. Anthony, Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce L for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
No objection, sir.
Be admitted in evidence. It states numbered.
Mrs. Anthony, Your Honor, may I publish?
You may.
You indicated that the boots that are shown on the back seat were in a different part of the car when you first accessed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Were they on the floorboard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You also mentioned a dryer sheet.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you put that dryer sheet there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you remember having a deposition taken on July 29th of 2009?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. At that point, you were sworn to tell the truth, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. You remember that I was there asking questions. Counsel for your daughter was there as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember giving a different response as to whether or not you put the dryer sheet in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
At that point in time, did you say that you put the dryer sheet in the car?
At that point in time, I couldn't remember if I did or not.
All right. If I may approach the witness.
You may.
Page 323,
Which volume? Volume 1.
volume 2, 2 of 2.
What page?
Page 323, lines 15 through 25.
You may approach.
We object for the impeachment.
Overrule.
If you could read lines 15 to 25 to yourself. Does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not you actually put the dryer sheet in the back seat of the car?
Yes, you did. Proper impeachment.
Overrule.
At that time, when I made the statement that I did not know, at that time I did not remember. Since then, I've had flashbacks of that day. And on that day of my deposition, I was under new medication, and I explained to everybody before we started the deposition that it was a very stressful day and that my medicines, I was in transition between two medications, and that I was going to do the best that I could with
Okay.
the memory I had at that time.
Mrs. Anthony, at the time of your deposition, did you not indicate that you did not know of a reason why you would have put a dryer sheet in the car?
Impeachment.
Overrule.
At the time, all I remember the day of my deposition is that I was tired, had not been sleeping, and very emotional. And I did not at that time remember why or doing so. later on, I have had flashbacks. A lot of my memory has increased.
Mrs. Anthony, do you remember at the beginning of your deposition me asking if there was anything that was affecting your ability to remember or recall? Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. And do you remember me asking if you felt that it was okay to go forward with the deposition, even given that you had medication at that time?
Yes, ma'am, and we discussed that that was the best we were going to get at that point from me.
Okay. Ma'am, I'm going to show you what's been marked as V for identification. Tell me if you recognize what is shown in V.
It's the blue collapsible bin from the trunk of Casey's car. It has Casey's doll, Kaylee's doll, Casey's purse, and Kaylee's backpack. And there's a hanger at the bottom of the basket.
All right. Are these items that you turned over to the Orange County Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am.
Are these items that were in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The doll that is on top, is that the doll that you had indicated in your earlier testimony was in the car seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is this photograph fairly and accurately depict the bin and other items that were removed from the car and subsequently turned over to the Orange County Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce V for identification into evidence.
No objection, sir.
It will be received in evidence as states numbered.
Permission to publish to the
You may publish.
Mrs. Anthony, aside from wiping down the doll with a Clorox wipe, did you do anything with the work purse that is in the blue bin?
Later that evening, after I came back from work, I went through Casey's purse because I hadn't heard back from Casey, and she wasn't returning my calls, and I found the yellow envelope that was inside her purse. And I removed the items inside the envelope, and they were resumes of her friend Amy Huizenga.
Is
And
there contact information for Amy Huizenga on that resume?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you do anything with the backpack that you have indicated is at the bottom of that blue bin?
I looked through the backpack just to see what was inside of it.
All right.
And I think that's all I did.
If I may have W for identification? Can you see W for identification, Mrs. Anthony?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Are the item, what is it a picture of?
The inside of Kaylee's backpack.
Right. Is that photograph fair and accurate representation of what you saw in the backpack in July of 2008?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce W for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
No objection, sir.
We received in evidence as states numbered.
Permission to publish.
You may publish.
All right, you said you looked through the backpack. Did you find anything and remove it?
Briefly, I took out her toothbrushes. We always had a toothbrush, like a comb and different things in one of the pouches. And I just went through and held some of Kaylee's things just because, and then I placed them back where I found them.
Where was this item in the car?
In the trunk of the car.
On the on the floor of the trunk or inside something else?
I believe it was on the floor of the trunk.
The blue bin that we saw in 52 in evidence, where was that?
It was in the back of the car as well, or in the trunk of the car as well.
What items were in the blue bin before you removed it?
Some hangers, plastic hangers.
Did you vacuum the trunk of the car?
No, I did not.
Did you otherwise clean it in any fashion aside from spraying Febreze?
I think I just kind of brushed my hand across some things and threw a couple little pieces of debris away.
All right. You had indicated that you went to work.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
When you went to work, in what condition did you leave the vehicle?
Left the car with all of the doors open, windows down, sunroof open, trunk and hood up, and it was left in the garage.
Did you close the garage door behind the car when you left and went to work?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How long were you at work?
Oh, maybe an hour and a half, 2 at the most, but probably an hour and a half.
Right. While you were there, or when you were going there, did you make an attempt to contact your daughter, Casey?
Yes, I did.
Were you able to get a hold of her?
No, I was not.
Once you were at work for an hour and a half, you said you either ended your shift or decided to leave. What happened?
Well, when I got there, everybody knows I don't usually leave work in the middle of the day. So when I got back, I just kind of explained what was going on because I left abruptly. And I went back to my desk and tried to get a few things done so that I could get out of work. And I spoke to a couple coworkers about the car and, trying to find out what happened with Casey. And my immediate supervisor was telling me just go home, and I told her I needed to get a few things squared away because I had worked very hard on a project that I was, for Coumadin levels, and I was trying to make sure that the nurses had gotten the doses right for the patients that day. It was very important for me to get a few things done at my desk where I felt comfortable I could leave. And as I was wrapping some stuff up, my director came and said, why don't you just go home? We'll take care of whatever you need to do.
Had you told the people at your workplace that you hadn't seen Kaylee for a month or more?
Well, they pretty much knew that I hadn't seen her because during that period of time I had, we always ask how our family is, and Kaylee is always a subject of conversation with my coworkers and me. They watched Kaylee grow up because she was always at my work. Casey was always dropping her off, or she'd just come for a visit, have lunch with me or whatever with Kaylee. So everybody knew Kaylee since she was a baby. And, of course I vented, how's your vacation? And then come in and say crappy because I didn't get to spend it with the girls. And,
Right.
So they were aware.
You said that you had discussed with your coworkers the condition of the car. Did you tell your coworkers that it smelled like something died in the car?
Yes, it was a figure of speech that I said that it smelled like something, that the car smelled really bad. And I explained to them what George had told me while he was at Johnson's.
All right. So you did tell your coworkers that it smelled like something died in the car?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So once you were encouraged to leave by your supervisor, did you?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you go home?
Yes, straight home.
Once you got home, is that when you looked through the work purse that you described earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Once you were home, did you make efforts to contact your daughter Casey?
Yes, I tried calling her again, and she still wouldn't answer. So I thought it was strange that Casey had Amy's information there, and I don't know what possessed me to call Amy rather than some of her other friends, but I did.
You
Something
called.
just told me to call Amy.
You called Amy. In the meantime, had you sent a text to your daughter that there was a major problem that she needed to get in touch with you immediately?
Yes, I'd been trying to get a hold of her all day to find out why the car was at the tow yard, and obviously I realized that she was lying again where she was at.
All right. So when you made an effort to contact Amy, did you reach her?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you make arrangements to pick her up?
Yes, I did.
And did you do that? Did you
Yes,
pick
I-
her up?
Yes, I did.
Where did you pick her up from?
The Florida Mall.
And did you ask Amy to take you to Casey?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was she able to do that?
Yes, the reason I picked her up is because she explained to me that she had seen Casey a few hours prior, that Casey picked her up at the airport. And I told her that I hadn't seen Kaylee and that Casey was lying to me, and I needed to find Casey to find out what was going on. So while we were driving, she said she knew exactly where she dropped Casey back off because she had loaned Casey her car during the time that she was in Puerto Rico.
All right. So where did she take you? Or where did she direct you?
Yeah, I was just driving. She was just telling me where to go. And we went to University Avenue, Winter Park, a place, I can't even remember the name of his apartment complex, but she took me directly to Tony's apartment.
Are you talking about Tony Lazaro?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this somebody that you had met?
No.
So once you get to Tony Lazaro's apartment complex, where do you go?
Well, I was kind of shocked that Amy knew exactly where to go because she kind of indicated that she had just kind of dropped Casey off at the complex. But Amy seemed to know exactly which apartment, and it was in the back, and which floor. I mean, she just led me right up in a different, because where you park, there's a couple buildings, and she knew right where to maneuver right up to the apartment complex. And I followed her up to the second, I think it was the second floor, and we decided that Amy go to the door, and I just stayed in the hallway so that when Casey would come to the door, and see Amy.
All right. Now, you mentioned a hallway. Is this door open to the exterior or into an interior hallway?
It's outside. We climbed the outside staircase. And Tony's apartment, there was like a little balcony area. And I just stood kind of towards the stairwell.
Okay. So did you see Amy knock on the door and get a response?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you see come to the door?
Well, I didn't see Casey at first. I heard her voice when the door was open, and then Amy kind of motioned for her to come out. And then Casey stepped outside, and that's when I popped around.
Okay. What did you say?
I just asked her what she was doing there, and I told her that she needed to talk to me, that we needed to talk. And
Did you see Kaylee?
no.
Did you go into the apartment to look for Kaylee?
As soon as I got to once Casey agreed with me to come with me, I asked where Kaylee was, and she said she wasn't there. So
Did she tell you where she was?
she said she was with the nanny.
Okay.
And so I told Casey to get her things and come on. And when she went into the apartment, I stepped up, and I could smell the cigarette smoke just emanated out of the apartment. And I didn't even take more than a step in. I knew Kaylee wouldn't be in that environment. So I didn't even go in to look.
All right. So Casey told you that Kaylee was at the nanny.
Yes.
What was your response to that?
Well, we're going to go get her because we have to all sit down and talk about what's going on.
And was Amy around for that?
Yes, Amy by then realized that I was quite upset, and she kind of already went back downstairs, and she was down back by my car.
Did Casey agree to go with you?
Reluctantly, but yes.
All right. Did she gather her things as you told her to?
No, she just put her sandals on or her flip-flops on, and then she came with me. She didn't have her purse or her cell phone or anything with her.
Did she tell you that she was coming back to Tony's apartment?
Yeah, she had made the reference that she was going to come back to Tony's, and I told her that would be fine at some point, but not until we resolved everything that was going on, not until I had an explanation.
And not until you saw Kaylee.
Right.
Okay. Does everyone get back into your car at that point?
Yes.
Or you're driving?
Yes, I'm driving. Casey sat in the front passenger seat, and Amy started to get in behind Casey, but realized Kaylee's car seat that I had in my vehicle was there, so she ended up coming around the vehicle and getting in to the back seat behind me, and then we left.
All right. Did you continue to question Casey as soon as she got into your car about Kaylee's whereabouts?
Yes, I did, and I realized that that wasn't an opportunity to really talk to Casey because Amy was in the car, and I didn't want to really embarrass Casey or Amy. So Amy gave me directions to take her home. So the conversation was very limited during that period of time.
All right. How about once Amy got out of the car? At that point, did you ask where Kaylee was?
Yes, I dropped Amy off in the street. She said it would be fine for her to walk, and we kind of watched until we could see her get back to the condo or townhouse, whatever it is, because she was living with JP Chat and Ricardo Morales at that time. And I made a comment that that before we started to go, that she needed to start answering my questions. And she told me that she would take me to see Kaylee, so we started to drive. And
Did she tell you to go anywhere specific?
we started driving around, and then Casey started making excuses why it would not be a good idea for me to go see Kaylee. And I was getting very, very frustrated. And I was asking her questions about why the car was at the tow company. And
Did you get answers?
no, I didn't. We drove around for quite some time, and at one point she asked me to take her back to Tony's, and I told her she wasn't going anywhere until I got the answers. And I was driving closer towards our home because since I wasn't getting a specific location where to pick up Kaylee, I just figured might as well head home. And as I was going down Pershing, I noted the Orlando police station that was on Pershing, and I told her that if she wasn't going to give me the answers, that I was going to get someone to help me get them.
All right. So at this point, you pulled into a substation for the Orlando Police Department on Pershing.
Yes, ma'am. And I pulled up to the door and started to get out of the car and realized that they closed at 5 p.m. and it was way after 5. So I just got back in the car and told Casey that this was her last chance to tell me what was going on. And she was trying to explain to me that she we talked about issues that we were having, and we were kind of arguing a little bit in the car, and I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted, so I dialed 911 from the car.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take a 15-minute recess at this time. So if you need your special one, this is a good time to take the special. I'm going to ask you not to discuss this case among yourselves. We'll take a 15-minute recess at this time. Okay, stay recognized, persons of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
The defense. Ms. Burdick, you may proceed.
Your Honor, at this time, we would seek to introduce States M.L. for identification into evidence.
Okay, noting previous objections which are placed on the record, it will be received in evidence of objections as states numbered. Ladies and gentlemen, I have two things to read to you. One is a stipulation dealing with the disc itself. On July 15, 2008, Cindy Anthony made a recorded call to 911 that was received by the Orlando Police Department at 20:09, 1800 hours. The recording is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true in your deliberations. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence that you're about to receive through this 911 call is to be considered by you only as to Mrs. Cindy Anthony's state of mind and also as an excited utterance at the time, and not for any other purpose, such as any alleged criminal acts of the defendant, such as stolen car or a bank account. Remember, however, the defendant is not on trial for a crime, wrong, or act that is not included in the indictment. You may proceed to publish.
Thank you.
Please, this sound is being recorded. How can I help you?
County Central Western Pershing and come on.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, I drove to the police department here on Pershing, but you guys are closed. I need to bring someone into the police department. Can you tell me where the closest one I can come into?
What are you trying to accomplish by bringing them to the station?
I have a 22-year-old person that has grand theft sitting in my auto with me.
So the 22-year-old person stole something?
Yes.
Is this a relative?
Yes.
Where did they steal it from?
My car and also money.
Okay, is this your son?
Daughter.
Okay, so your daughter stole money from your car?
No, my car was stolen. We retrieved it today. We found out where it was at. I retrieved it. I've got that, and I've got affidavit for my banking account. I want to bring her in. I want to press charges.
Where did all of this happen?
Oh, it's been happening.
No, but I need to establish a jurisdiction is what I'm trying.
Oh, I live in Orlando.
Yeah, but what address did these thefts occur at?
Well, I guess my residence, I guess.
What's that? Okay.
4937 Hope Spring Drive.
That's actually going to be in the jurisdiction of the sheriff's office, ma'am, not the
Okay.
Orlando Police Department.
All righty.
Let me transfer you over to the communications section for Orange County.
Okay. Now, is the Orlando Sheriff's Department the one on 436, is that open this afternoon, this evening?
The substation you're at on Pershing, if it's Orlando Police, we're open primarily during the day.
Uh-huh.
But that's not the sheriff. That's the city police, which does not have
Right.
jurisdiction for your
And
address.
then there's the sheriff's department on 436.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer you to the sheriff's communications section, and you can determine that. Hold on.
Okay. Because my next thing will be down to trial thing, and we'll have a court order together. If that's what you want to play, we'll do it. And you'll never. Well, then you have one more day. No, I'm not giving you another day. I've given you a month. All right,
Mrs. Anthony, did you stay there at that location on Pershing where you made the call?
No, I did not.
All right. Where did you go from there?
They told me either to go home or to drive to the side of the road and recall. So I figured I'm not going to do this at the side of the road. I drove home.
At any point, once you had your daughter Casey in the car, did you call your husband George?
No,
Did you call your son Lee?
no.
From that location on Pershing, you went back to your residence
Yes, ma'am.
directly?
Yes,
How long did it take you to get there?
just a few minutes. It's only like a mile and a half, 2 miles away at the most.
Once you arrived in your neighborhood, could you tell whether or not another member of your family had arrived at the house?
Just as I was approaching our subdivision, I received a phone call from my son, and Lee stated that his dad had told him that he needed to come home, and he informed me that he was at the house waiting for me, that something was going on. And I told him, well, I'll be there in just a second because we're turning into the development now. I'll see him in a couple minutes, a couple seconds.
All right. And is that what you saw upon your arrival, your son Lee waiting at the house?
Yes, the garage door was open and Lee was standing in the driveway.
All right. When you arrived, did you pull into the driveway?
I don't think, I pulled into the driveway, but I think I left my car out in the driveway.
Okay. And did everyone go into the house?
Yes, Casey immediately jumped out of the car and ran past her brother and went into the house, and Lee followed her in, and then I followed both of them into the house.
Okay. Once you got inside, what happened?
I think I briefly just kind of told Lee what was going on because he had no idea at that point. I just kind of explained to him that I needed some answers from his sister and that I was urgently trying to get her to take me to see Kaylee and that she was refusing to do so.
Did you immediately call the police from your home so that you could have the Orange County Sheriff's Office respond to you at that location?
No, because by talking to Lee, he thought that if we sat down together and she was, relaxed in the home, that maybe we could get some answers. So he wanted to try to talk to her. So that's what happened.
All right. Did the two of them speak alone? Or were you there?
I was there too. With three of us, we're kind of in a, like a 6-foot proximity of each other. Speaking, one of us was in the hallway, Casey's doorway, and in her room where we could all see each other and speak to each other.
Did you continue to insist that you wanted to know where your granddaughter was right then and there?
Yes, I wanted her to take me because she kept insisting that Kaylee was spending the night with Zanny. And I said, well, she doesn't need to do that anymore. So we need to get her. And Casey kept insisting that Kaylee would probably already be asleep by that time and she didn't want to disturb her, that we could go the next day. And I didn't care if we were up all night, if it disrupted Kaylee's sleep, that I would stay up all night and not go to work the next day if it became an issue that Kaylee wasn't able to sleep and someone wasn't going to get any sleep. I volunteered to be the one. I didn't care. I wanted to see Kaylee.
All right. Did she tell you that she would take you to her at this point?
No, she continued to insist that it was not a good idea to get her that night, and I was getting more irritated and was not happy with that answer, that I threatened again to call the police, and I gave them a few more minutes to try to reason with the sister, and I just had enough of not hearing anything. So then I made another phone call to 911.
Your Honor, at this point in time, I would seek to introduce M.M. for identification into evidence, and there is a stipulation.
What said to defense, noting previous objections?
Subject to all previous motions and objections, Judge.
Okay, it will be received in evidence as ladies and gentlemen, on July 15, 2008, Cindy Anthony made a recorded call to 911 that was received by the Orange County Sheriff at 20:44:30 hours. The recorded is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true in your deliberations. You may publish.
Status of your emergency.
4937 Hope Spring Drive.
4937 Hope Springs.
Drive, Orlando.
Okay, what's happening?
I have someone here that I need to be arrested in my home.
They're
And
there right
I have
now.
a possible missing child. I have a 3-year-old that's been missing for a month.
A 3-year-old?
Yes.
Have you reported that?
I'm trying to do that now, ma'am.
Okay, what did the person do that you need arrested?
My daughter.
For what?
For stealing an auto and stealing money. I already spoke with someone. They said they would patch me through the Orlando Sheriff's Department and have a deputy here. I was in the car. I was going to drive her to the police station, and no one's open. They said they would bring a deputy to my home when I got home to call them.
So she stole your vehicle?
Yes.
When did she do that?
On the 30th. I just got it back from the impound. I'd like to speak to an officer. Can you have someone come out to my house?
Okay. Okay, I gotta ask you these questions so I can put them in the call, okay?
Okay.
30th of June?
Yes.
Okay, how old is your daughter?
22.
Okay, what's her name?
My name?
Her name.
Her name, Casey Anthony. C-A-S-E-Y.
And your name?
Cynthia Anthony.
Cynthia, can I get a phone number that I can reach you at?
407-808-4731.
And you said you have the vehicle back?
Yes. And I have the statement.
Casey's there right now?
Yes, I got her. I finally found her after a month. She's been missing for a month. I found her, but we can't find my granddaughter.
Okay, how tall is Casey?
5'1.5".
Thin, medium, or heavy build?
And
Color hair?
brown.
What color shirt is she wearing?
White.
What color pants?
Oh, they're shorts. They're plaid. They're like pink and teal and white, black plaid.
Does she have any weapons on her?
No.
Is Casey not telling you where her daughter is?
Correct.
Okay, we'll have a deputy out to you as soon as one's available, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Same instruction be read.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence that you've just heard is to be considered by you only as to Miss Cindy Anthony's state of mind and excited utterance at the time and not for any other purpose. You are not to take into consideration the alleged criminal acts of stolen car or money. Remember, the defendant is not on trial for a crime, wrong, or act that is not included in the indictment. You may continue.
Thank you. Mrs. Anthony, the car that you're referencing in that call, is that the Sunfire?
Yes, ma'am.
That is a car that your daughter had permission to have, correct?
Yes.
Did the police respond immediately to that second call that you made?
Not fast enough.
Okay. Do you know how much time passed between when you made that call and their arrival?
It seemed like forever.
Did you continue in the interim to try to speak with your daughter about your granddaughter's whereabouts?
I popped in from time to time. I was trying to stay close to the garage in case they came so I could hear them. So I was pacing back and forth between the hallway from the living room to the garage, into the living room to Casey's room, and back and forth. I was just pacing because I was getting angrier and angrier and more upset as I was waiting.
So you're trying to keep an eye out for the police at
Yes.
this point. Is Lee Anthony in the room where Casey Anthony is?
Yes, by this time, they're both in the room. And I think at some point Casey was sitting on her bed and Lee was leaning up against her dresser.
At any point, did you overhear your daughter make a statement to her brother about Kaylee's whereabouts?
Yes.
What did you hear?
One of the times that I walked in the room, Casey was sitting on the floor crying, and I overheard her tell me that Kaylee had been gone for 31 days and that that Sandy had taken her.
How did you respond to that?
I lost it. I just went into the room and started yelling at Casey. What do you mean she's been gone? Why didn't you tell me? I swore at her and hit the bed and ran out and called the police again.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce what's been marked as MN for identification into evidence.
What says the defense, noting previous objections?
Subject to just previous motions and objections, Judge.
It be admitted into evidence over defense objections as states numbered.
And there is a stipulation as it relates to the accuracy as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will read to you the following stipulation. On July 15, 2008, Cindy Anthony made a recorded call to 911 that was received by the Orange County Sheriff's Office at 21:41:20 hours. The recording is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true in your deliberations. You may publish.
911, what's your emergency? I called a little bit ago, the deputy sheriff's son, I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She has been missing for a month. Her mother finally admitted that she's been missing.
Okay, what is
here now?
Okay, what is the address that you're calling from?
4937 Hope Spring Drive. We're talking about a 3-year-old little girl.
4937 what?
Hope Spring, HOPESPRING Drive, Orlando. My daughter finally admitted that the baby's in the store. I need to find her.
Your daughter admitted that the baby is where?
But the babysitter took her a month ago that my daughter's been looking for. I told you my daughter was missing for a month. I just found her today, but I can't find my granddaughter. And she just admitted to me that she's been trying to find her herself. There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today, and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn car.
Okay, what is the 3-year-old's name?
Kaylee, Caylee, Anthony.
Kaylee Anthony?
Yes.
Okay, is she white, black, or Hispanic?
She's white.
How long has she been missing for?
I have not seen her since the 7th of June.
What is her date of birth?
2000, oh God, she's 3. She's 2005. George Kaylee's missing. Kaylee's missing. Casey says Danny took her a month ago. She's been missing for a month.
Okay, I understand. Can you calm down for me for just a minute and I need to know what's going on, okay? I'm gonna try and talk. Is your daughter there?
I'm on the phone with them.
Is your daughter there?
Yes.
Can I speak with her? Do you mind if I speak with her? Thank you.
I called them 2 hours ago. They haven't gotten here. She finally admitted to Danny took her a month ago. Just trying to find her.
Ma'am.
Okay, Danny, they want to talk to you. Answer the question. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Well, can you tell me what's going on a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?
My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
And you know who has her?
I know who has her. I've tried to contact her. I actually received a phone call today, now from a number that is no longer in service. I did get to speak to my daughter for about a minute.
Okay, did you guys call and report a vehicle stolen?
Yes, my mom did.
Okay, so there's been a vehicle stolen too?
No, this was my vehicle.
What vehicle was stolen?
It's a 98 Pontiac Sunfire.
Okay, I have deputies on the way to you right now for that. So now your 3-year-old daughter is missing. Kaylee Anthony.
Yes.
White female.
Anthony. Yes, white female.
3 years old. 8/9/2005 is her date of birth.
Yes.
And you last saw her a month ago.
31 days. It's been 31 days.
Who has her? Do you have a name?
Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez.
Who is that? Babysitter?
She's been my nanny for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years.
Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?
I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which was stupid.
Okay. Can you give me the name of the nanny again? Like spell it out for me?
Zenaida, Zenaida.
Last name? Fernandez.
Hyphen Gonzalez. I think the officers are here.
The officers are there?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second. Don't hang up with me yet. I need to... Okay.
That's fine. We can resolve it.
Can I have a break, sir?
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess.